Hi, everybody. I've been thinking a lot recently about this argument I hear from Christians that if you were once a Christian and now you're not, you were never really a true Christian. And it's interesting to consider this because it means that not only are they accusing you of lying, they're saying that even while you really did believe, you were lying to yourself. And frankly, I find this insulting because it's an assumption that because I don't believe, I am, by my very nature, inclined to lie to people. Um, I was a Christian. I was, in every sense you can think of a true Christian, I was a true Christian. I believed that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, the only true God, the one God that created the universe. I believed that if I were to believe in him and confess my sins, that I would be forgiven and I would be absolved of my sin. I would be made into a new creature. I would be able to follow in a pathway of righteousness and to proclaim the goodness of the gospel and the truth of the Bible to all of mankind. And I did that. I went around when I was in college. I would go door to door in my dorm rooms talking to people about Jesus and God and this plan for salvation, that you're supposed to accept Christ. You believe in him, you confess your sins, and it's this ABC thing. Anyways, that's apologetics. I was an evangelical Christian. I truly believed in the words of the Bible. I believed that it was literally true. I believed in the young earth creationist point of view. And now I'm told that because I don't believe that anymore, I never really believed it. And it's really kind of strange because it's telling me now that if I could go up to a Christian and say that someday you'll be a non-Christian, that means that their beliefs aren't true now, no matter how much they tell me they are true. That if I'm able to convince someone that it's possible for them to change their mind, that they don't really believe what they say they believe. And it's strange because I believe this with a deep conviction. You know, this concept of conviction, it's the emotional certainty that what you believe is absolutely true, no matter what people tell you, no matter what the evidence actually says, no matter what reality dictates. If reality seems to contradict what you believe, if you have a conviction, then what you believe is what is true and not reality. Somehow you're misperceiving reality, or you're being tricked by the devil or things like that. But I realize now, as a non-believer, that the concept of using conviction as a form of evidence is really kind of pointless, because our emotions don't tell us what is real and what isn't real. The only thing that can tell us what is real is something that is confirmable between multiple sources of investigation. You know, you have multiple people who have different ways of perceiving the same thing, and if their points of view agree on something, then you're probably closer to the truth than if you were to just say, I believe that such and such thing is a certain way, therefore it is a certain way. To believe in Jesus and believe in God and believe in the Bible and all that, it's conviction. There are people who will say that no matter what happens, even if your entire worldview was proven to be false, that you'll still believe it. It's dangerous. It's telling you that it's better to believe things that contradict what you actually see than to believe what you actually see. That somehow the thoughts of your own mind are less important than the words of some old holy book. And I don't understand why people want to believe these books. It seems to me that if God exists, that he's able to defend himself, and you really don't need to do that for him. And you see all these people running around talking about, you know, the Bible's contradicting itself, and the Bible's full of all these terrible things, but there are people who will defend it, and they'll say, well, you don't really understand it because you have to be a believer to understand. You know, I was a believer. This isn't a foreign concept to me. I told people this myself. I said that, yeah, it seems kind of strange, but you really have to ask God for spiritual discernment to be able to understand what it says. But to continue to accept these things in the face of, logical contradictions or just moral absurdities, it's strange to me now. I once had no problem accepting this, but now I really do. I think that, to find out what is true about our reality, we can't just accept what goes on in our heads. Because, our brains are not the best filter for information about what is and isn't true in the real world. Between, hallucinations and intoxication and all these other ways that we can obscure our senses and confuse ourselves and trick ourselves, this is just evidence that our brains aren't trustworthy. We can't trust on a single point resource of information to tell us what is real. We have to get a confirmation from other people, and if we can't describe an experience that we've had, we can't use other people's indescribable experiences as confirmation of our indescribable experiences. So when Christians say that it's not our place to understand God or to know the mind of God, but we know that God exists and that God has a mind because other people also say they can't understand. That's like saying, I don't know what red is, and neither do you, so that's evidence that we know red exists. I don't know what a unicorn is. I don't know what a dragon is, neither do you, therefore they exist? It's a nonsense argument. We have to be able to confirm things based on evidence, on observation, deduction, on, people say, well, you can't see the wind, but you still believe in the wind, don't you? It's the most childish argument because we can detect things with other ways in our eyes. And this idea that because our senses are faulty, then things that we make are faulty too. Like I've actually had people tell me that you can't trust a microscope because it was designed by people and people aren't perfect. And that bacteria don't really exist. They're really just, kind of emergent phenomena of a poorly designed tool. And I'm kind of rambling here, but I kind of want to tie this up by saying that no matter how strong your convictions are, that's not really evidence for what's going on in reality. George Bernard Shaw said that the fact that a believer is happier than a skeptic is no more to the point than the fact that a drunk man is happier than a sober man. I think it's really important to think about that, because the fact that something makes you happy, the fact that something is something that you really believe deep inside of yourself, that doesn't make it true. And it's not any sort of evidence for what you believe. There are people of all faiths all around the world who believe just as strongly in their beliefs as you believe in yours. And if the degree of your belief was really evidence for whether it was true or not, then you'd be arguing that all people who believe in things strongly are equally correct in their belief. And I'm sure that for most of the Christians out there, this argument is blasphemy. You're saying that God isn't the true God because other people believe as strongly as you and their beliefs are true, so, whatever. Anyways, that's it.